Hey, hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this Python commonly asked coding interview question series, today let's discuss about what is FizzBuzz in Python. Okay, so this is very interesting question. If you come across an interviewer who is very enthusiastic or lively, he or she might ask this as your very first question in your coding interviews. Okay, because this is more of an icebreaker kind of question. The complexity level is very simple, and if he or she wants to test your basic understanding of your Python programming, they can give you this particular problem. Okay, so now let's look into the actual question. Okay, so this keyword is very catchy, but do not carried away with this. The actual question is very different. So say you are given a range up to n. Okay, so for example, say you have given a range from 1 to 50 or 1 to 100. Now you have to print all the numbers up to n, but there are few conditions. Okay, let's start looking into the condition. So if the number is divisible by 3, then you have to print fizz instead of that number. If the number is divisible by 5, you have to print bus instead of that number. If the number is divisible by both 3 and 5, you have to print FizzBuzz instead of that number. Okay, so this is the this is your actual question. All right, this is very simple to implement. Now, at times you might think it is confusing, but implementation wise, it is very easy. Before jumping onto the actual coding, let me show you a flow chart so that you will have a very clear understanding about how you can implement it as a code. Okay, so you can show this as a pseudo code also. So say you have a range for, in this example, you have a range up to 51. Okay, so you have a for condition and you have a range up to 51. All right, so you see very first condition is if the actual number is divisible by 3 and 5. Okay, and then you will print FizzBuzz. You are using a modulo operation. If the remainder is 0, and it will print FizzBuzz. And if any of the condition does not satisfy, it will go to your next condition where it will check FizzBuzz, your actual value modulo of 3 is equal to 0 or not. Okay, if the condition is yes, it will print fizz. If the condition is false, it will go to your next condition where it will check your actual number is divisible by 5 or not. If it is divisible by 5, it will print bus. If it is not divisible by 5, it will print FizzBuzz. All right, so this is a very basic flowchart which shows you the how we can implement the FizzBuzz program in Python. Okay, now let's jump on to the actual coding. So as usual, let me write a method called FizzBuzz, and let me call this FizzBuzz method. All right, now let me start the implementation. So what is the first step we saw is we saw the condition where we have to provide a range up to n, right? So I'm using a for loop for x in range from, say, from 1 to 50, right? Now you have to use a condition. If x modulo 3 and x modulo 5 equal to 0, then you need to print FizzBuzz, right? So first condition what I'm using is if x modulo 3 equal to 0 and x modulo 5 equal to 0, then I'm just printing FizzBuzz and continue. This continue statement is very important, because if you do not use this continue, what will happen is it will start going into your next condition. It will start looking into your next conditions as well. Whereas if you use this continue, what it will do is if the condition is satisfied, it will go out of the loop and start start iterating the next element. So it will save you a lot of time. And okay, so that is why this continue is very important. And let me show you how it will work without continue while we actually debug the program, right? So my first condition is done. Next, if my second condition is x below 3 equal to 0. Now I have to print fizz, right? Yeah, now I have to print fizz and continue. And my last condition is elif x modulo 5 equal to 0. Then I am printing bus, right? And I'm using a continue statement. And finally, I have to print the actual numbers, right? So I'm using print x. Right, now let me run you this program. Yep, now you can see the output console where my number 1 and 2 got printed, and since 3 is divisible by 3, it got fizz got printed. 4 5, the number is actually divisible by 5, so 5 got instead of 5 it printed bus, and instead of 8, since 8 is divisible, sorry, 6 is divisible by 3, it printed as fizz. Similarly, let's look into an example where it is divisible by both 3 and 5. What number? Yeah, 15 is divisible by 3 and 5, so it printed as FizzBuzz, right? Similarly, you can scroll down and look at any other numbers. Yeah, 30 is again divisible by 3 and 5, it got printed FizzBuzz. So you can view this FizzBuzz implementation up to your range 50. Okay, and one key thing to note here is, like, now let me jump onto the program and let me explain you line by line. Okay, so now let me remove this continue statement and show you what will happen. If you are if you are a beginner to the Python programming, this might be a little confusing. Now, so let me run you this and show how it will work without continue statement. Oops. Yeah, so now if I come to this part, now let me start from first. You start looking at 1, 2, and it printed 3, it printed fizz, but if you note, it also printed the number 3, but I do not want this, right? So if you come again below it, after 4 it printed bus, and again it printed the number, but my actual requirement is I do not want to print the number and the fizz or bus string again. All I want to do is, instead of that number, I want to replace that. Instead of that number, I want to print fizz or bus. So what's actually happening here is, so if you do not use continue statement, what will happen is it will go into your next condition, right? So here, say if it came up to number 3, so 3 will be divisible by 3 by 3 modulo will be 0, right? And it will come again here, right? Now the condition will get satisfied. It will print the actual it will print the actual string, and it will print the value also. So it is very, very important to actually use continue statement. So as soon as your condition got satisfied, okay, as soon as your condition got satisfied, it will come out of your loop. Okay, let me look into the definition, okay, so that you will have a very clear understanding. So continue in Python. Okay, now if you read the definition, the continue keyword is used to end the current iteration in a loop and continue to the next iteration. Okay, so as soon as my condition got satisfied, if I use the continue keyword, what it will do is it will end my current iteration in a loop, in a for loop, and continues on to the next iteration, right? So as soon as it encountered the continue keyword, it will end the current iteration in a for loop and it will go to the next one, right? So here, if this condition got satisfied, it will go on to my next element in the range. All right, so this is why you have to use this continue here. And one more mistake, common mistake people usually make is, what they will do is they will use this condition at the last. Okay, what they will do is they will first use modulo 3 first and modulo 5 second, and then modulo 3 and 5 at the last. Let me tell you what mistake will happen. Okay, so now it should be if, and it should be elif, right? Now if I run this, you can see it printed fizz at the, instead of number 3 it printed bus at the number 5. For 6 it printed fizz. But if you go and find a value which is divisible by both 3 and 5, which is 15, it would not have printed. So where is 15? Yeah, here instead of 15 it did not print fizz bus, it actually printed fizz only. Again, if we go to number 30, right, if you go to 30, it would have printed only, oops, if you go to number 30 it would have printed fizz only instead of fizz bus. The reason is, what happened, what, so it is, as is shown in the flow chart, it is really mandatory to use this condition first, because what's happening here is, here you are checking if x modulo is 3 is equal to 0 or not. So as soon as the number 3 is encountered, right, as soon as the number 15 is encountered, it is actually divisible by 3, right? So it will print first and it will exit this iteration and it will go to the next one. So it is so it will not come to the statement at all, and it will not print FizzBuzz at any situation. So that's why it is really very important for you to use this particular condition at the very beginning, like this. Okay. So now if I run this again, now you can see the numbers which are divisible by both 3 and 5 got printed as FizzBuzz. All right, so 30, instead of 30 FizzBuzz got printed, instead of 15 FizzBuzz got printed. Okay, so this is how you can implement FizzBuzz program in Python. Okay, I hope you understood how FizzBuzz, how conditional statement like this work in Python. Okay, so in case if you have any queries regarding this, please post it into the comment section. I will try to answer it as soon as possible. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.